Hello. So this is something just for third period. I was able to finish this in first and fifth, but I want to make sure we're all in the same place for the other lesson. So this is going to be a very quick um, discussion about Shiloh and what happens at Shiloh. So we were talking today about the success of Grant as he is moving the Union forces down and invading the South. Right, he's moved through Fort Donelson. He takes Nashville. A lot of success. They're feeling very good about things. So much so that in some ways they were a bit already like looking past these little interactions with the idea that they were going to move right on and sort of take the Mississippi no trouble. Shiloh is going to change everything in some ways, because what it does is it was a reality of just how bad this war is going to be. Um, Shiloh happens because as the Union and the Confederates clash here, the Union is going to get caught, if you can see by this picture here, in a sunken road. And as they're caught in this sunken road, they're going to have Confederate soldiers sort of shooting at them from both sides. It's going to be very, very hectic and confusing. And as there's rush upon rush, and they're trying to take control of the lane here, the bodies start to pile up. One quote from a soldier said, the ear was oppressed with the agony of sound. Thousands of muskets poured forth a constant roar of fierce wrath. Hundreds of cannon thundered defiance and death. Fragments of words of command were drowned out by the clank and clatter of new batteries hurrying into position to the clarion call of the bugle. It was a swift, swirling tempest of mad action, beyond imagination and indescribable. So it is a just terribly horrific day of battle, right? It's a 2-day battle. On the second, that into that evening, so overnight, it starts to rain. Now the story goes that many of the soldiers were exhausted. It was this just hand-to-hand combat, very brutal, and they're exhausted. A lot of them are injured. A lot of them are unable to sort of get help. There's nobody to help them. And as they're laying out on the field, this huge thunderstorm comes in, just cracking lightning, pouring rain. And they described that men who were injured were too weak to even raise their heads. And as the water started to rise, you had examples of soldiers drowning in a couple inches of water. Then, to me, this is just the worst. The wild boars and the wild pigs who lived in the forests came out to feed on the dead and dying. And they would drag them, and you could hear them being squealing and being taken away into the forest, the dead and dying. One man said, "This night of horrors will haunt me to my grave." In 2 days, there will be 23,000 dead. Now, the numbers here are inaccurate, where it says U.S. losses and Confederate losses. I'll try to fix that and let you know tomorrow. I don't know what happened. Somehow I copied it and didn't notice that it was copied incorrectly. But basically, we're looking at about 11,000 men dead in Union soldiers and 11,000 dead on the Confederate side. This is more than we've lost in every previous battle America's ever fought in. U.S. Grant will take responsibility for this. He is going to feel really terrible about what happened, even though it was technically a victory, because when you command the field at the end of the day, you're victorious. But the price of the victory was so high. Grant is going to assume responsibility for the loss, is going to feel really bad about what happened and take the blame. So much so that he is going to turn to alcohol. He's going to spend the next several years, actually it's about a year and a half, drinking heavily, falling on and off the wagon, being removed from service where he weren't even able to use him. Today, we would easily diagnose him with PTSD, no question about it. But we didn't have that capability then, and we didn't have that sensitivity then. So I think it was a pretty brutal time. But why this is important is, as an early loss and an early battle for us, it is very symbolic of what is going to happen and what's going to continue to come, that this is a new kind of war, and that this is going to be a pretty tough conflict that we're in. Okay? All right, thanks. And that's just for Charlotte.